All right. Happy birthday to Taylor, who just celebrated his...
And to Gio.
And Gio.
Oh, Gio! Why do I not know these things? Gio, how old are you now?
I am officially 24 years old.
24 years old.
I am officially double his age.
Exactly. Wow. Okay. So for today's episode, we'll be talking about getting into or staying fit over 40 or older in life, and whether it's ever too late.
We didn't introduce Coach Brooks.
Oh, Coach Brooks. Here
Hi,
we go. So Brooks, how old are you today?
He is 5 months after yesterday.
Yay! 5 months. Cutie, the best baby. I feel like my kids were just always crying.
Well, we'll see how long he lasts.
Yeah, okay. Well, we have a timer. 1 minute so far. Okay, so first question. What are some common misconceptions about aging and physical activity?
Let's give it to the old guy,
Yeah.
huh? Well, you know what? I'm gonna first I want to talk about our patients and clients, right? So when you're dealing with the Medicare population who are 65 and older, what you hear most commonly when they come to the door with their script and what is it? Their doctor told them basically not to do anything. It's like if they have an injury or what, they're like, oh, just walk, or just everything is just like if you reach a certain age, like don't move, don't even just be static. And I think that's the most common advice that medical professionals are giving to patients who are older, and I think it's really bad advice. And so I think what we do when we have an opportunity to do so is to just educate them on the fact that age is just a number, but also it's just no matter what age you are, movement is good for you. You want to move besides walking, or what I hear again is go and do aquatic therapy, or go do just swim. Water or walking is the most common advice provided by medical professionals to seniors, and I think it's just bad advice. And so I went straight to that, went to seniors, but with the middle-aged people, I think you want to move, but you also want to be not overly, you don't want to be overtraining and exposing your body to unnecessary trauma, because there are things that happen to us as we get older, and we do undergo physiological changes, and so that's just inevitable and that's just natural. And so I think it does change. It has to change as we get older, but it doesn't have to change to the effect that I think, or to the extent that we've been told by the general public as well as our healthcare system. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think going back to the whole don't do this, don't do that. That stems from a lot of medical doctors and physicians in general just really not having a good understanding of exercise and movement. Their scope of practice is very broad, especially for a general practitioner. But they're really not trained in that area of rehabilitation and being active like a physical therapist is. But you see that also on the physical therapy side a lot with a lot of these just kind of run-of-the-mill places where it's you're underdosing not only middle-aged but especially senior citizens, where you're so afraid of giving them maybe too much, or maybe you don't even know what to do with them, that they just end up in this state of, well, I don't want to do too much because I might hurt myself or I might overdo it, and then I won't be able to get up out of bed the next day.
Yeah, another thing is I think most healthcare people out there are going to be closer to middle age and maybe older, especially physicians, right? And so I think what is important to remember is hey, when you're looking for a provider, right, you want somebody who's active. You have an inactive provider, they're going to give you advice that's very inactive, right? And so I think when you're looking for a provider that, whether it be a physical therapist or a physician, I think if you are an active person yourself, then look for somebody who appreciates and understands what an active person likes to do. Right?
Yeah. I was gonna say a way I like to look at it is if you have a body of water, right, and it's still it's gonna develop algae and a bunch of other stuff that's toxic, basically. But if you have a body of water that's constantly moving, it's going to be healthy, it's going to be replenishing. So same thing with the human body. If you're constantly moving, you're going to be healthy. And if you're not moving at all, what do you expect? It's going to be unhealthy.
Yeah, analogy. I like that.
Yeah.
That was deep.
24 now.
That was deep. 24 years old.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of our aging population is mostly watching TV and very inactive. Like they're on their screens a lot, just like we kind of like encourage our kids not to be on their screens. I feel like the aging population, a lot of them are on their screens.
Yeah.
But one of the things, one question I had is, what's your protocol when someone who's a senior comes in and, for physical therapy?
Like protocol, as in a standard thing that that we either educate them or what we do. On the physical therapy side,
I think it's more just kind of, it starts with education and like what they've been told by either other physical therapists or other physicians, and kind of debunking whatever they've been told or, misinformed, and getting almost like a little bit more self-confidence in their body and what they're able to do, and just starting from there. Like if you are starting from a place of education, then you automatically just start to gain that patient's trust, and you start to build this rapport, and they not only start trusting you, but they start trusting themselves and their abilities.
Yeah, I think that's really important, to give them confidence to move. I think maybe a year or two ago, we did a little video on the grandmother who was going to have back surgery, but then she ended up coming to physical therapy, and she was doing sled pushes and stuff like that. She's like your typical Asian grandma with the high perm and everything. Do you remember?
oh yes,
Yeah.
Short little lady, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was one of those. They come believing that they can't do anything. Like they see weights and they're like, "Oh no, that's not for me," or they think that every exercise should be in a machine where you put in little pins and you push and pull and that kind of stuff. And when you expose them to free weights, and when they come to, you got to make it incremental, obviously, for seniors, right? But when they get to a certain point, they get to a point where they're like, and it happens all the time. It's like they're like, I didn't know I could do this. And they come to the realization, and before you know it, they're doing things that, like much younger people are doing. And they're gaining so much confidence out of that. They feel amazing. They get up and they say they immediately feel more energy. They're able to do more things. They're able to like walk around with play with their grandkids more, or go to the mall, or go to shopping centers, and they're able to walk a lot longer and tolerate things that they never could tolerate before. And I think that's just the effect of not only moving, but resistance training. Because resistance training is something that seniors overall avoid. What do they tell them to do? Go in the water where there's not that much resistance, and then walk, not that much resistance. And then what's the other thing that, yoga, chair-based yoga, or, just yoga, which is great, but I don't think seniors and older folks have to be just directed to one of those avenues. I think I would even go as far as to say, let's say somebody who's a lot older, 60s, 70s, and they came up to me and they're like, I used to love running, and I want to be like, hey, you know what, if that's what you wanted to do, and it's something that we can make, because there are people out there who are 80, 90 years old who are running. You got to give them the right advice, and they got to progressively, incrementally do it. But I think those are the things that are not necessarily impossibilities for even seniors. Yeah.
I think even now on social media, you're seeing a little bit more of people who are starting to work out later in life, right? So there's Granny Guns, who's like the bodybuilding grandmother. There's Train with Joan, and then there's a bunch of, she started at 70, lost 70 pounds in her 70s. So it's kind of cool and encouraging to see people who are older do it. And, even someone like myself who's caring for older people, seeing that it is possible to start later in life, and to encourage that still, rather than, kind of give up. So,
but before you go to that, I think on the other side, I think it's important to get active and moving, right? But I feel like something that you want to be careful with, like really generally speaking, but I think with especially with seniors, is doing something that's too repetitive for very long periods of time. I think that could be potentially injurious, and it could be you might be a little bit more higher at risk. So let's say that it's just like one thing, and they're just taking that to the extreme. Then I think that's not good. I think it's great to just mix things up as much as you can, and get a lot of different types of activities in your weekly schedule. So.
Okay, I think, oops, whoop.
We're good.
We're good. Okay, we can transition on that note to the next part: strength training and bone density after 40. So let's talk about the health considerations past 40. So most women are at risk of osteoporosis at some point in their lives, with estrogen declining, bone loss, leading to brittle bones that can fracture easily. What are the dangers of low bone density?
I mean, you just
I just said it.
Yeah, fractures. I mean, fractures, that's the number one thing that, we're looking out for low bone density, and that can happen in the spine, it can happen in the longer bones like the femur, it can happen really in any bone. And that is really, something that, yes, will happen over time, but also is kind of like, a result of your habit as well. So if you have somebody who is a lot more inactive, not doing exercise, not resistance training, they're likely going to have lower bone density than somebody who is more active. They are exercising, they're doing progressive resistance training. And we see a good amount of that in physical therapy because, typically physical therapy, you're going to see people on the middle-aged to older side. And plenty of times I've gotten patients that have come in and say, hey, my doctor wants me to start exercising or doing resistance training because I got my DEXA scan back, which is kind of the gold standard measurement of analyzing bone density. But they don't really know where to start. They may not have any experience in the gym, or maybe they used to go a very long time ago, and they kind of just don't know where to start.
Yeah, with bone density, I think it's important to just know that you're gonna, most of that's gonna be just set when you're younger, right? And so, I think the younger people out there that or have an opportunity to really make a significant long-term change to their bone density, like you got to make sure that you're exercising, lifting weights, eating properly, and doing those things when you're in your 20s, in your teens and 20s, to really set that bone density for future. I think the amount and the extent, especially if you catch it on later on with osteoporosis, there's not too much. I mean, forget as much reversal. You're more focusing on prevention, right? And so I think the most impactful thing you could do is in your teens and 20s to make sure that, especially women, that they're doing resistance training and they're doing things, exposing their bones to pressure.
And I think that's a good thing to note, is that it is reversible. It's not like something that is like a death sentence and like you're always going to have low bone density. But it is reversible with resistance training, doing stuff in what we call a closed chain, so weight bearing, not just machines. I think that's a common misconception, is that people just think that, oh, if I just do like all these exercises at the gym on these machines, that I'm just going to be able to get my low bone density score up. But that's not the case. It has to be in a weight-bearing position because your bones are, essentially working to keep you upright in a weight-bearing position.
I have a quick question on the science behind bone density increasing. Like, what does that actually look like in your bones? Like, what does that look like? Like, yeah. Take that.
So essentially, your bones start to weaken, become brittle. If you look under slides from like a microscope, you start to actually see them become like more porous.
Okay.
So that's when they start to become more at risk for fractures. And there's other things that will cause a loss in bone density, but not being upright, not doing progressive training. Bones are just like muscles. If you don't apply resistance towards them, they're not going to get stronger. They might stay the same if you're lucky, or if you have good genetics, but just like if you want to get your muscles stronger, in order to get your bones stronger, you also have to apply resistance to them.
So it's like your body responding to stress, right? So your bones are responding to stress. So when it's exposed to stress, then it's going to come back to meet that stress, right? But if you don't expose it to things that are going to make the body want to change, it's just going to stay very stagnant. And yeah.
So what advice can you give parents for trying to maximize the potential of their kids' bone density?
Well, nutrition is very important, right?
Yeah.
And so that's important. But Yeah, I think just not doing just one thing. You know, I think they really need to mix it up, and then mainly you got to expose the axial bones to stress, which is axial bones are like the long bones of our body needs to be exposed to stress and weight and resistance. Yeah. Like I remember hearing this, and I don't know exactly how if this is like factual, but I remember a story where astronauts came. You know, they were like in space for like months, and they brought back to Earth. They have to go into like a chamber or like an environment where they're going to be. You could prevent falls or any kind of stress, where because their bones have become brittle in space because there's no gravity, and so bones have to build up their density again so that they could be exposed to the environment so that they don't break bones. Yeah, essentially.
Okay, so after 40, both men and women also experience hormonal shifts, testosterone, estrogen, estrogen for women after menopause or during menopause. What are some symptoms of low testosterone, if you know?
Fatigue, just sluggishness, maybe you get tired more than usual, low libido, decrease in strength and endurance. Pretty much all the things that you don't want to have as you're getting older.
And it takes you longer to recover.
Yeah, longer to recover for sure.
But I think if things are in question, because I've heard this from a middle age, and I have a lot of friends who are interested in this area. And, you know, to be honest, I haven't done enough research in this to kind of know all the numbers and that kind of thing. But all I know is that from my friends who have gone for to get prescribed TRT and all that, is that some of them went to get tested because they thought they had these symptoms, and then their testosterone was normal.
Yeah.
And then others who went and got tested, they didn't know that they had it. You know, they were just going about life. And so I think the best thing to do is go and get tested. If you're middle age and you're just going for a general checkup, just be like, hey, can you throw in one of those this test? I don't know if it's a standard thing, but can you throw this test in, and to make sure that I just know that that's normal or not. Yeah.
Would you ever get TRT?
If I had low testosterone, like that, I don't know. I guess it depends on what are the effects, right? But I think I would.
I would 100%.
I'd get jacked.
Dope me up. As soon as that starts,
Traps here.
I just want to be right back up where I started.
But I think the symptoms are not like as typical. You know what I mean? Like it's not like
As for women. So
Yeah.
for women, it's more like your fat distribution changes. You're holding fat more in your midsection rather than your glutes or your thighs. Your metabolism slows down in general, and also you might experience more feelings of depression, which could lead to other things.
Yeah. I got a story with somebody who was middle aged. She was a female. She was a client of mine, and we were training a lot. And we were training very intensely, but she wasn't sweating much at all, like zero. And so at one point, I was just like, man, what's going on here? Like, no sweat. Wow, that's incredible. Or I was also getting a little frustrated. And then one day I was just like, hey, you got to get that checked out. So she went to the physician, and she got her whole blood work done. And she had thyroid issues. She was diagnosed with thyroid issues. And so she got that addressed, and things changed. But I think
Was she
those
able
are some
to
of the-
progress in her fitness goals because she handled her thyroid, her hormone levels?
You know, I'm gonna say I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Great
but
following
I hope
up.
that she did. But I don't remember. My memory is just not as good with that stuff. But I just remember that it was a client, and she went to get her physical because I told her she needs to. She did, and yeah, she had thyroid issues.
It's good to know because my friend never sweats.
Yeah,
He grew up
I
in
don't know
Egypt.
if that's the only thing you look for, but
Yeah.
I was frustrated at her. I just sent her
Yeah.
to get her physical, and she just happened to get yeah.
Yeah, because he grew up in Egypt, 90 degrees every day, pretty much.
Yeah.
Played soccer his whole life, never sweats. So interesting. I'll tell him to check out his thyroid. But I was gonna ask, for a younger male who might have low testosterone, would you suggest that they take a TRT if they're younger? Like, let's say they're 18 years old, but they have low T. What do you think?
That I think should be left for the physicians,
Parents?
endocrinologists, and looking at all the different numbers and and to see what maybe. But I don't know. I feel like of course. I think if your testosterone is abnormally low, and it's impacting some of the other systems, and it may lead to potentially long-term detriment to your health, I would think you would very strongly consider some type of pharmaceutical intervention with that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, especially if it's having like a severe impact on your life, like
Yeah.
your energy level, your ability to kind of just go about your day to day. But I would definitely, defer that to more the physician and medical experts on that.
I have been hearing that younger people are having more hormonal shifts just because of
Inactivity.
yeah, it could be inactivity. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
And I
Yeah.
think the general public a lot of times like just associate hormonal changes like testosterone, especially for the the meathead guys, who are middle aged, is that they associate that with just like strength and maybe like sexual things, But I think that's like you got to remember that I think there's more to low testosterone than just those areas. Yeah.
And we talked about before just resistance training and bone density, but resistance training with these hormonal shifts, I think, are also helpful too.
I think that's what the research says, right?
I would have to review that.
In general, I think for women maybe experiencing perimenopause or menopause, I think they also get not TRT but HRT, which is estrogen progesterone. But they can do a lot for themselves in order to kind of like be protective, which is weight training, resistance training, as well as healthy diet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think before you look at hopping on any kind of hormone, you should be taking a pretty deep look and see, what could I be doing better in my day-to-day life, like sleeping better, drinking more water, eating healthy, and focusing on whole foods. And I think that kind of stems from a lot of issues. People automatically kind of go to, okay, what kind of meds can I get put on to help this issue, without really looking deep inside themselves and be like, okay, has this issue been going on because of something in my lifestyle, or is it something genetic where I really can't help, what's going on? I need more, medical intervention with that.
I think stress is something that you
Yes.
always have to consider in not only hormones, but just like health in general.
Stress,
Yeah.
lack of sleep.
Yeah. I just like, even this week, just being like, just a little more stress, I could feel it. You could feel, at least for me, like I'm like sensitive to it, and I could feel my body responding to that stress, maybe negatively or even positively, but it's responding. So I could see how much that could affect your endocrine system. Yeah.
So left turn, new sports in midlife. So I think people in their 40s, 50s may have a little bit more time on their hands because their kids are getting older. They may be taking up sports.
Midlife crisis?
Yeah, midlife crisis
I was gonna
also.
ask you about that.
Do you? I mean,
Well,
but he's been active
You're right.
for
I
decades.
actually saw, everyone thinks, your midlife crisis in your 40s, 50s. The average life expectancy in the U.S. is 70. So
Okay.
I'm technically getting up there in middle age.
Yeah, that's true.
35, it's only 18 months away.
Grays.
I know. I wasn't great before I started working here. 8 years ago.
Oh, we should bring out Ryan's picture from
Oh,
the
God, no.
office. His baby
Yeah.
Ryan. Looks like Brooks.
Gio in another year is going to start getting grays too.
Yeah.
Sticks around long
That's
enough.
where it started, on the chin. Right here.
So midlife crisis. Are there any particular sports that are more beneficial, safer to start later in life? I feel like a lot of people I'm seeing are getting into more endurance sports, usually like triathlons,
That's a midlife
Ironmans.
thing to do,
That's
yeah.
a midlife thing to do, right?
I think it's 'cause it's very kind of low
Accessible.
maintenance, accessible, unless you're getting like into super competitive triathlon space where you have to, buy the bike and get the suit and everything like that and the shoes. But yeah, I think typically you'll see more kind of endurance-based, sports and stuff. Running, I think since COVID, running's been booming
Huge.
like crazy. Like everyone,
It's free, it's easy.
yeah,
you
no
can
one
do
really
it.
had access to a gym unless you had stuff at home. So what do? You go out and run, or you go out and bike just to get out in fresh air. What else?
We want more on that?
I don't know. It was your topic.
Oh, was it? Oh.
You said pickleball.
Oh yeah, pickleball. There's a huge craze with that. I mean, I think the only person here
I haven't played
who
it.
plays pickleball is you, right?
I love pickleball.
I can't wait. I want to learn
But
how to play it.
I feel like Ryan would be outstanding
Oh, wait,
at pickleball.
pickleball
Because
is-
he's a former tennis player. If you guys
It's
know.
it's modified tennis for seniors, right?
Pretty much. That's pretty much what
Well,
it is.
But-
that's what happened, and then millennials took it over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's
not
the
just
history
it's not
behind it,
just for seniors.
Not
Yeah.
anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. I want to learn how to play pickleball.
Yeah, I mean, pickleball, you know, it's a great sport. Again, kind of very easy accessibility. You just have to have a wiffle ball, a net, obviously somebody to play with. But I mean, we also see a lot of.
You need a friend.
Yeah, you need a friend. Yes. You also need, you know.
I think you need friends. Because pickleball, I think you need to play with doubles, right?
Play singles.
You play single pickleball?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never
Friends.
seen it.
Yeah. But I've seen a lot of people, I think, since it started really blowing up, that are on the older side and maybe inactive for a while, and they start, you know, playing pickleball, and they pop Achilles or they, you know,
So
strain
many.
something.
So many. So
yeah.
many Achilles.
I guess I'm like a different middle-aged guy because I played pickleball once now so far, and I'll be straight up, I prefer tennis. Yeah, like I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was gonna enjoy it, and then I know we're gonna lose pickleball viewership. And then the other thing was golf. Like I'm not into golf at all. Yeah, and so I'm in that prime age where, especially golf, like all my friends are obsessed with golf.
Golf is interesting because there's a lot of walking. There's
There
a lot
is.
of rotation, right? But there's not a lot of resistance, like training
Yeah.
or anything. So I feel like it's not the ideal.
Maybe
Yeah.
because I don't like cigars. I don't know. Like, all my friends just smoke cigars when they go play golf.
Well, I mean, as someone who golfs, it's more of a sport where you're kind of just going out to have fun, unless you're me and you're super competitive. But you know, there's you know the Professional Golf Association, stuff like that. But your average golfer is probably really just going out to have fun, maybe with some friends on the course. It's not as competitive of a sport as, you know, a different kind where you're actually going up against somebody, you know, on the other side of the court or the other side of the, you know, field or something like that. So I think it attracts a different kind of personality. I like it because it's a good switch up from, you know, training and working out, and
I see.
and
Lower
it's something that I
intensity.
enjoy doing, especially you know, during the summer where it's nicer out, and you know, I can stay outdoors for a few hours. But I think, you know, different personalities are attracted by different sports, and I think you know, maybe the person that was maybe a little bit more inactive would prefer golf because it's, you know, a low intensity exercise or sport compared to something else like pickleball, like tennis, like running or biking. So I think you'll see a lot of people on the older side kind of gravitate towards different sports depending on maybe their previous activity level or their personality.
Speed golf. That's fun. That sounds fun.
Golf frisbee? Frisbee golf?
Frisbee golf? Yeah.
Is it called speed golf? Where you like you run to your like you don't have your
I don't know
back
what it's called, but they do have something like
there?
that.
That looks fun.
I think that's kind of why I would like to encourage more people to do high rocks. I feel like it's a good mix of like you have your friends, you're running, you're doing weight bearing exercises. Not to be like a plug for high rocks, but I just think, you know, for all the people who just run only, this is a good healthy balance to like get other things, resistance training in their life. But I think just to close up, you guys are a few weeks away, right? From 4
about a
weeks
month.
away from your high rocks. How's everyone feeling? How's training going? You guys peaking?
Not pitch
No,
yet.
or you tapering?
I need to do more running.
More run. I know it's 50% running.
It's more than 50% if you look at the actual time
Yeah.
breakdown of each like station.
Honestly, I think the next video we should do is running because I think a lot of people are increasing their running volume. So the dangers of that, like with your foot health, ankle health, you know, what you need to strengthen, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right?
Sneak peek. Maybe we'll have another guest appearance.
Yeah. I mean, how much longer are you on paternity?
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Okay, so past the high rocks. That means Taylor's taking up
Not that
his
Taylor's
patients.
Counting down.
Every
what?
shift.
Oh,
That's
yeah, 5-minute rule.
Hey, did Brooks fart before?
Oh yeah.
He did, right?
Hey,
I heard
ripped it in the middle of me
Yeah.
speaking, and I was like,
I heard it
we're
here.
just gonna play it
I
off.
was like,
I thought it was your stomach growling. I was like, oh, I guess he's hungry after his shift.
No, it's him.
And you got caught up. I could
I
tell
did,
you
I-
got caught up. Yeah.
You think
I
he
did
had
smell it, but I like heard it and I was like,
You were like
just
talking,
ignore it,
and
just
then he
ignore
got
it.
like his